What would happen to your body if you decided to stop sleeping forever? And I'm not talking about staying awake for 2 or 3 days, but about never closing your eyes again. Here's a paradoxical spoiler. If you try to avoid sleep, eventually you'll end up sleeping forever. But to understand the consequences of not sleeping, we first need to discover why sleep is so crucial. If we think of the human body as a machine, sleep is the time to recharge the battery, just like you do with your phone every day. It's essential to keep this machine running perfectly, with all the gears working in harmony. In other words, sleep is necessary to ensure physical, metabolic, immune, and even psychological balance. A good night's sleep helps reduce stress, increase concentration, maintain a healthy weight, and improve memory, mood, and appearance. For all these reasons, getting the right amount of sleep every night is extremely important. But what is that amount? You've probably heard that everyone needs 8 hours of sleep, right? But that's not exactly true. The need for sleep varies depending on several factors, including age. For an adult, it's usually 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. For teenagers, the ideal is 8 to 10 hours. Yes, you can show this video to your mom. Children may need up to 13 hours of sleep, and for babies, experts recommend up to 16 hours a day. I miss those days. Unfortunately, we don't always get enough sleep. In the US, the average sleep duration is about 6 hours and 53 minutes per night. However, approximately 35% of people sleep less than 6 hours, bringing that average down. Tell me in the comments how many hours you usually sleep per night. But what can disrupt sleep? Sometimes it's simply a lack of time. A tiring routine with work, studies, long commutes, and family responsibilities may not leave enough time for sleep. Other times, illnesses can affect sleep. Some make a person sleep too much, like narcolepsy, a disorder that causes excessive daytime sleepiness, even after a good night's sleep. This happens due to a chemical imbalance in the brain, making you feel an intense urge to sleep suddenly, skipping the initial phase and going straight into REM sleep. Narcolepsy can even lead to cataplexy, a sudden loss of muscle strength causing a person to collapse. By the way, the name comes from that because... Bam! No, I'm kidding, that's not why. Or is it? It's not. Another mysterious disorder is sleepwalking, where a person performs motor activities while still asleep, such as walking, eating, and even talking. Although in movies it looks like a zombie wandering with outstretched arms, in real life the sleepwalker usually walks with their eyes open, a neutral expression, and a distant gaze. The causes are not fully understood, but it's more common in childhood and more common in men. In adults, it may be associated with depression, stress, anxiety, fever, or the use of alcohol, drugs, and some medications. It's important to seek treatment if this is your case because sleepwalking can be dangerous. A person can get hurt walking around the house while sleeping. Now, speaking of scary problems, have you heard of sleep paralysis? It's a terrifying sensation that can occur when we're about to wake up. The mind is active, but the body is still asleep, and you know you're awake, but you can't move. It's like being trapped in your own sleep, unable to wake up. Fortunately, this lasts for just a few seconds or minutes at most. According to a study, 8 out of 1,000 people have experienced this. Have you ever had it? Tell us in the comments how it was. Speaking of strange and more common experiences when falling asleep, have you ever been startled by a sudden sensation of falling as you dozed off? This is known as a hypnic jerk, an involuntary movement of the body that occurs just as we're transitioning from wakefulness to sleep. The body sometimes mistakes muscle relaxation for a fall, and as a reflex it quickly contracts the muscles, causing us to wake up for a moment. It's a curious sensation, and despite being quite common, it never ceases to surprise us each time it happens. It is speculated that this phenomenon is linked to the time when primitive humans slept in trees and served as a reminder for the primitive human before sleeping to check if they were in a safe place. Interesting, isn't it? Surprisingly, some people have volunteered for tests on this issue. A famous experiment was conducted by the French geologist Michel Siffre, who spent 60 days isolated in complete darkness in the French Alps to see how his body would react. The discovery was that without sunlight, the human body does not maintain perfect 24-hour cycles. The waking period varied between 6 to 40 hours. When he left the cave, he thought it was still August 20th, but it was already September 14th. A similar test with a group of 15 people had similar results, showing that without sunlight, our body alters its perception of time. And what about the lack of sleep? What happens if you never sleep again? Let's go. According to studies conducted, after 18 hours awake, your motor reflexes begin to be impaired, similar to the effect of being slightly intoxicated, like 0.05% blood alcohol. After 24 hours awake, the sensation is the same as someone with 0.1% blood alcohol, making driving as dangerous as driving drunk. After 48 hours without sleep, the body does not metabolize glucose properly. The brain uses energy carried by a molecule called ATP, and the excess adenosine, a byproduct, induces sleep. If you don't sleep, the body starts craving glucose, resulting in an intense desire to eat something sweet. After 3 days without sleep, the eyes become extremely sensitive to daylight. On the 4th day, hallucinations and psychosis can start to occur. There are reports of people developing such intense paranoia that they doubted their own identity. After 5 days, it's hard to predict what might happen, as few people manage to stay awake for that long. The world record for the most extended period without sleep is 264 hours or 11 days, achieved by American student Randy Gardner, who still suffers from incurable insomnia due to the experiment. The risks of staying awake for so long are so severe that Guinness removed this category from the record book to prevent people from attempting this feat. There are reports of people who died after many sleepless nights, like the Chinese fan who tried to watch all the Euro Cup games, resulting in his death due to sleep deprivation associated with excessive alcohol and tobacco consumption. Tell us in the comments, what's the longest time you've gone without sleep? All this highlights the importance of good nights of sleep for our health. Harvard neuroscientist Matthew Walker considers sleep a superpower, saying that the more we sleep, the longer we live, but it must be quality sleep. If you sleep a lot but have poor sleep, it won't do any good. He suggests 6 tips to improve sleep. 1. Maintain a regular sleep routine, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. 2. Set the room temperature to around 18 degrees Celsius. 3. Keep the environment dark, avoiding screens and using curtains or a sleep mask if necessary. 4. Get out of bed as soon as you wake up to associate the bed with sleep. 5. Avoid alcohol and caffeine late in the afternoon. 6. Create a relaxation routine to help your brain wind down before sleep. By following these tips, you can improve the quality of your sleep and consequently, your quality of life. After all, if we sleep about 8 hours a day, that represents a third of our lives. A person who lives to 80 years, for example, will spend almost 30 years sleeping. But this is not a waste of time. It's essential to living a healthy, happy, and energetic life. Thank you very much. See you next time, and good night.